In this video, I am trimming a new to me personal horse, and I've actually been trimming this horse for quite a long time. She belonged to an existing client. Been trimming her for quite a few years. She is a big Tennessee Walker mare, and at one point she had really contracted heels and a lot of hoof wall separation, had to be rehabbed in boots for a bit. But now her hooves look completely different. You can see that her heels are not super contracted anymore. They're not as wide as I would like them to be, but they're pretty dang good, especially from the starting point that we had. And this is just a maintenance trim on this horse. I ride her predominantly in hoof boots, and the hoof boots fit relatively snug. And this time of year, the hooves are growing super fast in the summer. Videoed this at the beginning of the month of July. And I usually need a fresh trim for my boots to fit properly. So I was going to go on a trail ride the next day, and I wanted to give her a quick trim to make sure everything fit properly and we wouldn't have any booting issues on the trail. So that's a bit of it from the bottom of this hoof. Not much to do, just removing some excess material. I'm going to work on this hoof from the top now, really just to smooth my bevel and bring that toe back a little bit to ease the breakover on this hoof. But you can see there's not a lot of dishing and flaring, maybe a few small event lines. When I see those ripples like that in the hoof wall, usually it's from a small event like the horse getting its vaccinations or being wormed or a change in the pasture grass, something like that. They're not deep like we would see on a laminitic horse that was having a full-on inflammatory event. So all in all, this horse has relatively very healthy hooves. I'm working on the other front hoof. Just wanted to get a little bit of mud out of the toe area with my hoof pick. And now I've got my nippers out, and I'm going to mostly remove wall at the toe because she likes to grow forward a bit. Ideally, that toe would be back a little bit more. Her frog is not stretched forward, but the distance between the apex of the frog and where the white line is a little bit too long. So I'm just very slowly bringing that hoof wall back and that toe back over time. And when the weather's dry like it has been, it's a lot easier to make progress on these hooves. They're not compromised by the wet weather, and they're much stronger and firmer and generally don't run forward as bad when we have conditions like that. So just, trying to bring that toe back, resting down those heels, and just a very, very basic maintenance trim on this horse. I'll barely address the bars or the frog at all because they're in really good condition. And sometimes frequent trimming like this is necessary to get these kind of results, although I know it's not affordable for most people, but it's what I do at home. So with this hoof forward, I'm going to trim kind of the same way I did on the other front hoof from above. I'm really just focusing on maintaining my bevel, smoothing out those edges, and bringing that toe back a bit from the top. Not too much, but a little bit. Her toe's not super long. I would just like to bring it back a little bit slowly at a time. Not hardly any dishing or flaring on this front foot either. So relatively healthy and just a basic maintenance trim. Mostly to make sure my boots fit, but it doesn't hurt to trim them frequently during this time of year either. So I'm working on this horse's hind hoof, and as you can see, I'm using my nippers to remove some of that excess hoof wall. Even though there's not a lot of it, I generally try to move bulk of material with my nippers just because it's easier on my body. And rasps are probably my most expensive tool, so I try not to use them if I don't have to. So if I can get that material, or the majority of that material, off with my nippers first, that's what I'll do. And then I'll use my rasp secondary to kind of fine-tune the structures on that hoof. So I'm smoothing off any kind of nipper marks and starting my bevel, smoothing things out. And as you can see, on the lateral side of this horse's hoof, it's a bit wider than the medial side, and that's because of the way she moves. She's gaited, and when she's gaiting, she has a little bit of twist to her footfall, and that twist causes that flare on the lateral side of her hind hooves. So it will cause that bar to lay over, and that bar laying over will also cause that flare. So I'm just trying to bring that bar down to the level of the sole so it's not pressing on the quarter on the lateral side of the hoof wall, and it will help prevent future flaring. But it's also being caused by her movement. So most times when I am trimming her hind feet, I have to do some type of correction to the lateral side of her hoof. It's a small deviation, but if left unchecked over time, it could potentially cause some distortion and some problems in the hooves. So I try to just notice it and address it every time I trim this horse. But overall, really, really healthy foot, nice big frog, nice thick, well-connected hoof wall. So now I'm working on this horse's right hind, and from this angle that I have my camera set up, it's much easier to see that lateral distortion that I was talking about on the other hind. And so I'm going to address it the same way as I did on the left hind, but it's just more pronounced on this side, so you can see it a lot better. But like I said, it's all caused by movement. So there's not tons I can do about that wear pattern without altering the movement. So I just try to bring the hoof back into balance as much as I can each time to prevent that distortion from getting worse. And right now I'm trimming actually at like 6 o'clock in the morning at home to try to beat the heat. So she pulls her hoof away a few times, and that is because we had a horse fly that was really getting after us, and I could tell she was really not happy about it, but overall she behaved really well. It's maddening. Those horseflies bite really hard. It hurts pretty bad. So yeah, I'm going to finish up this trim, bevel this wall, and then I'll bring this hoof forward after addressing that bar and finish this trim from the top. Now I'm working on that hoof from the top, and the first thing I'm addressing is usually the thing that bothers me the most, and on this hoof, that would be that lateral flaring, as I'm addressing right now with my rasp. But it's not that bad. From this perspective, you can see that the flaring does not stick out very far. It's pretty streamlined, straight hoof wall still. So anyway, thank you so much everybody for watching. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below and I will do my best to answer them.